Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you all children? I hope you all are fine and I hope you have done your exams well and you got a break before we start our second semester, right? Okay, today we are back with our second sem's first chapter, that is decimals. Now this topic decimal, it's not new for you all, you have already studied about decimal in class 4. So today what we are going to discuss in decimal is what we mean by a decimal number is what we will discuss. Then we will see how we read a decimal number. We will further see how we write the place value of the digits in a decimal number, and at the end we will see how we write the number, the decimal number in expanded form. Okay. Now so far you have studied about whole numbers and fractional numbers, right. Now what we mean by whole number? Whole numbers tell us that something which is complete or full. For example, if we take example of an apple, when I say one apple, we know we are talking about a complete one apple, right. If we say two apples, two, that tells us that it is complete two apples, that there are two complete apples. So whole numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on, we call them whole numbers. Now what do we mean by fraction or fractional numbers? If you remember, when we are doing the topic fractions, we discussed that fraction is a part of a whole. Like one whole thing, when it is divided into equal parts and few parts, when we select from that, we call it a fraction. Okay, so fraction means it is a part of a whole. Equal number of parts are made and from there we select certain parts and we write the fraction. Now decimal number is a combination of these two types of numbers, that is a whole number and a fraction. So in a decimal number you will find both the numbers, you will find whole number as well as you will find a fractional number. Now if you look at the board, here I have written an example for a decimal number. Okay. Now in this number you will find a whole number and also a fraction. Okay. Now the whole number and a fraction, you can see it is separated by a dot or a point. Now this point we call it decimal point. What do we call it? It's a decimal point. Okay. Now this decimal point separates our whole number. This is our whole number. You can see to the left side of the decimal point, the number that we write, that is the whole number. Okay. And to the right side of the decimal point, what numbers we write, that is our fraction. Okay. This is our fraction or a fractional number. So a decimal number has a whole number, it has a decimal point and a fraction. Okay, so this decimal point separates the whole number and the fraction. Okay, I hope you have understood what we mean by a decimal number. It's a combination of whole number and a fraction. Okay, now you might be wondering how this is known as a fraction. Fractions, for you all it is like something numerator and denominator, isn't it? We will see how we write this in a fractional form also as we go ahead with the place value. Now before that, let us see how we read this number. A whole number, when we read it at 24, okay, but when we are reading a fraction, we don't read it like that. We have to read each digit separately. Okay. So when we are reading a decimal number, whole number we will read as usual as we read the whole numbers. So it is 24.356. Okay. Please pay attention to this, how we read a decimal number. We don't read it as 356. No. When we are reading the fractional part, we read each digit separately. Okay. So this number we will read it as, this decimal number we will read it as 24.356. Okay. Same way, let us try to read this number. Now this is our whole number. Now whole number we will read it as it is, as we read our whole numbers. We know that this is the hundreds, tens and ones, right. So how do we read this number, the whole number part? 465. Okay. 465.3 4.019. Okay, once again see how we read a decimal number. It is 465.019. Okay, the fraction part we have to read each digit separately. So, I hope you have understood what we mean by decimal number and how we read the decimal number. Now, moving ahead with the place values of and the places that are there in the decimal number. Like we discussed that we have a decimal point which separates a whole number and the fraction part. Okay. The place values of the whole number are same as we write in a whole number. We start with ones, tens and hundreds. We know what we mean by ones, right? Ones means for 3 in ones place, the place value will be 3. 4 in tens place, the place value will be 40, right? 4 tens, 10, 10, 10, we have 4. So, the place value is 40. 6 in hundreds place, the place value is 600. We know about this. We have done all this right from our lower classes, right? Now comes what we mean by the place values of the fractional part. If you remember, fraction means some number of parts are made, equal number of parts are made, and from there we are selecting some parts. Okay. Here the first place in the decimal part, the fractional part is 10th place. Now 10th place means 10 parts are made. Okay, what does this tell us? That 10 parts are made and out of 10 we are selecting some parts. Okay, so here 2 parts are selected or 2 parts out of 10. So the place value of this digit will be 2 out of 10. Okay, 10th place. Okay, the first place in the decimal part or the fractional part is 10th. Then next we have 100th place. What does that mean then? 100th place means 100 parts are made. Okay, and from that 100 parts, certain parts we have taken. Here since I have written 1, it means that 100 equal parts are made and from there we are taking 1 part. Okay, so the place value of this digit will be 1 out of 100. Okay, then third place that we have is 1000th. 1000th place means 1000 equal parts are made and from there we are taking 5 parts. Okay, so the place value of this digit will be 5 out of 1000. Understood how we are write the place value of the fraction part? This is why since the number of parts are made and from there we are taking certain parts, we call it as fractional part or the decimal. Okay. Now here you see the denominators are usually the multiples of 10. 10, 100, 1000, 10. This is how the decimal, the denominators you will find in a decimal number. Okay. Now let us see how we write when we have a number like this which has a whole number and a fraction. We will see how we write it in a decimal form. Okay. Now we know that this is a whole number. 4 is a whole number. 4 is our whole number. Then we have a fraction over here. Okay. So that means we need to have a point, a decimal point between the whole number and a fraction. Okay. Now this fraction 3 out of 10. 3 is in 10th place, right? 3 is in 10th place. So the first place after decimal point is 10th. So 3 out of 10. That means it is 4.3. Okay. 4, this is 3 out of 10, 10th place. So 4 is a whole number, point, decimal point 3. How will we read it? 4.3. Okay. Now let us read this number. We have 643 in our whole number part, 643.215. We do not read it as 215, we read it as 215. Each digit we read it separately. Okay. So it is 643.215. Okay. Now let us see, look at the second example that I have here. I have 25 as a whole number and then I have a fraction, 12 parts out of 100. Okay. So how we will write it in decimal form? 25 is my whole number that I have. Okay. Now we have to write the fraction part. So before that we need to separate whole number and fraction with a decimal point, and then we will write the fraction. 12 out of 100. So that means it is 1, 2. Okay. This is how we write the decimal part or the fractional part in a decimal number. Whole number, a decimal point and a fraction. Okay. Now the third example that I have here, again I have a whole number here 16, and then I have a fraction part which is 215 out of 1000. So how we will write this into a decimal number? 16 is my whole number, point, I have to separate a whole number, right, from the fraction part. So for that we are using a decimal point, 16 point, and now I have to write a fraction decimal part for this fraction. So it will be 215. This is how we write a do you remember what type of a fraction is this? When we did a fraction, this is called the mixed fraction, if you remember, right? This type of fractions we call the mixed fraction, where we have a whole number and a fraction. Okay, so here we are changing mixed fraction to decimal. Okay, and for that we have separated whole number and the fraction part with a decimal point. I hope you have understood how we write the decimal numbers when we have them in fractional forms. Okay, next we are going to look into the place values. We are going to look into the expanded form. Now expanded form is directly related with our place values of the digits. Okay, how we have seen here the place values, using this we have to write the expanded form for the decimal number. Okay, so first number that I have here is 24 point, then I have 10th place, 100th place, and then I have 1000th place. Okay, so from the whole number part we are going to start expanding the number. Now 2 is in 10th place, 10th place, so it will be 2 into 10. Okay, so 2 into 10, that is 20 is the place value of 2. Then we are going to go to the next place, that is 4 in 1's place. So 4 into 1. Okay, so we have expanded our whole number part. Next we are going to the decimal part or the fractional part. So first digit that I have in fractional part is 8. Now 8 is in 10th place, right? So 8 into 1 by 10. 1 by 10 means 10 parts are made. Out of 10 parts we are taking 8 parts. Okay, 10 equal parts are made, and from there we have taken 8 parts. Then next we have 3 in 100th place. So 3 parts are selected out of 100 parts. Okay, then next we have 7 in 1000th place. 1000th place, 7 into 1 by 1000th. Okay, so this is how we expand a decimal number. First we expand the whole number part, and when we are expanding the decimal part or the fractional part, we have to see in which place it is there, how many parts we have to write accordingly. Okay. Now next I have an expanded number over here, expanded decimal number. We will see how we change it to a standard decimal number. Okay. Now first expanded digit over here is 5 into 100. You can see this is the whole number part. 2 into 10 also is a whole number part. 3 into 1 is also a whole number part. Our fraction part starts here, where you see upon 10, upon 100, upon 1000. This is our fraction part, right? So remember, we have to separate whole number and the fraction with a decimal point. So first 500. So 5 in hundreds place. Then I have 2 tens. 2 in tens place. And 3 ones. 3 in ones place. So my whole number that I have got is 523. Okay. Now I have to start writing the fractions, but before that I have to put a decimal point. Okay, then we will start with the fractional part. 6 1 by 10th, that means my 10th place, the digit that I have to write is 6. 6 parts out of 10. Okay, then next 4 into 1 by 100. 100th place, the digit that I have to write is 4. So next digit that I have to write is 4. And the last digit that I have here is 9 1 by 1000. That means my 1000th place, the number that I have to write is, the digit that I have to write is 9. So when I have an expanded form and we are writing it into a standard decimal form, we have to be very careful what number will come in whole number and what digits we have to write in the fractional part. Okay, so let's see how we read this number. 523, my whole number that I have got is 523.649. Okay, once again 523.649. This is how we read this number. Okay, what if we have a number, a fractional number or a mixed fraction in a form like this, 5 2 by 100. How will we change or how will we convert this to a decimal number? Okay, let's see how we do it. Here 5 is the whole number, so 5. Then we know that before we write the fraction part, we have to put a point, a decimal point. Now we have 2 out of 100, right? So how will we write that? 2 out of 100. That means our 10th place we have no digit to be written, right? So we will add a 0 in our 10th place, and 2 is out of 100, right? So our 100th place I will write 2. Okay, let me show you one more example where it is 16, say for example 41 by 1000. How will we write this into a decimal number? How will we change it to a decimal number? So my whole number part, it is 16 point, the fractional part I have 41 out of 1000. Okay, so that means my the 10th place will be 0, 100th place I will write 4 and 1000th place I will write 1. This is how we write the mixed fraction. In case if any digit is missing, we have to put a 0 and continue the other places with the digits that we have. I hope you have understood all that we have discussed today. Inshallah, we will meet very soon with our next topic. Till then, stay at home and be safe. Jazakumullahu khaira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Subhanallah walhamdulillah.